everyone. My name is Yvonne Tran, and I am the Vala board president who is going to be your moderator today with the cast and crew of the Paper Tigers. And so before we begin, can I have everyone do a quick round of introductions, your name and role in the production?
I'll go first. My name is Bao Tran, writer-director of the Paper Tigers. Hello, everyone.
I'll go second. What's up, guys? My name is Elaine Uwe. I play Danny on the Paper Tigers.
I'll go third. What's up? My name is Mikkel Shan Jenkins. I play Jim on the Paper Tigers.
Welcome, everybody. So first off, I want to start with the beginning camcorder sequence of the characters' younger selves. It was so creative and brought back a lot of nostalgia for me, minus the street battles. So how did you come up with that idea and style? Were these home videos how you guys started your film career, maybe Bao specifically?
Yeah, I want to know what tapes you have, Yvonne. Were you just wrecking fools back in the day, or just? Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like a bit of a autobiography in that sense. We would have. That's kind of our memories of even before YouTube. For the younger folks out there, in terms of memory keeping and shenanigans and just all kinds of stuff before the cell phone. We had our home video cameras, and that was like could be this big bazooka. VHS camcorders, they're kind of like started getting a little bit smaller throughout the years. But that was basically our 80s and 90s, and how I kind of like remember, honestly, my family memories and growing up, because that was our documentation. So it was also how I learned to make films. We learned to grab the camcorder and just kind of like make stuff in the backyard. Robert Rodriguez, Rebel Without a Crew was like a huge influence at that time, just kind of like just going out and making your own movie and doing it your own way. And that was just kind of like the whole kind of like new wave, if you will. But all that aside, it was just also a way to tell the story of these characters kind of going up and growing up and be able to catch them through the different stages of their lives and have these competitions, whether it be fighting Baymo. It could have been like skateboarding videos or breakdancing battles. It's just, what teens did in terms of capturing their lives and memories together. So that was kind of the aesthetic that we're going for, and I'm glad that you really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Elaine and Mikkel, did you all remember those days too with the camcorder?
Oh yeah, same thing. Those bazooka camcorders were intense. But yeah, I used them for breakdancing. But same concept,
And that's
same
absolutely.
everything.
And that's the problem is I used it for breakdancing and can't find any other tapes. I don't know how God.
Yeah.
I keep telling my son I was a bad man. I can't show him any of that.
No receipts. No receipts here.
Mikkel, you have them. You just don't want to show them.
No,
Like, no, I don't have it. I don't know what happened to them.
Man, listen. Well, you already know I still got a little of it left, a little residue. I don't know what it was. But I am
Paper Tigers too. This is where I
still got it. But it ain't what I was.
Well, you can find all these, now they're on YouTube, and there's folks who have kept on to these tapes, the battles, and even BAMOs, like Martial Arts Challenge. So you can find these on YouTube pretty easily. And the Gracie family, who did, kind of introduced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the world, really, they were wrecking fools and going just dojo busting and videotaping it. So it had, all that swag that, we see in those videos was something that we wanted to incorporate into the film for these characters and see that. So it's definitely kind of like life reflects art, art reflects life in that sense. So yeah, it all worked out.
Super cool. So the next question that I have for you is, I read that this feature film was a decades-long endeavor with one challenge after the next, including when Hollywood executives wanted to give you a bigger budget to cast the likes of Bruce Willis, Nicolas Cage in the main roles. But you walked away and did your own Kickstarter to find the budget that would allow you to make the film that you envisioned. And so can you give us a little backstory to the journey to how you got here and why it's so important that the film had a cast primarily of people of color?
Yeah, it was a story that I wanted to tell that which reflected again the elements of growing up. It could be other people growing up playing baseball or breakdancing. But for me, it was martial arts. And the story of the squad that we ran with, the crew and the friends and the family that we made in those years was really important. And it happened here. Like, I'm based out of Seattle. It happened here in Seattle for me, growing up in this like melting pot and this very multicultural martial arts community. And so that's something that we wanted to kind of reflect in the film. And that was the story that we wanted to tell, because Bruce Lee, when he first came to America, he came to Seattle and he set down his digs here. He opened his Kung Fu school here. He taught, went to the University of Washington. He met his wife here, and he taught students of all kinds and different races and creeds. And we still kind of benefit from that groundbreaking to this day. And so that's something that we really wanted to tell. And it's interesting because it almost kind of like cut both ways, because I think it's kind of an example of just being Asian American, and the experience of Vietnamese American, for me specifically, was being kind of caught between these two cultures and two ideas of what that is. Because I'd spent time working in Vietnam. I cut for Charlie Nguyen and Dustin Nguyen for features out in Vietnam, and I had been pitching, just kind of casually the idea of the story to some folks in Vietnam, and they were really interested. They loved the idea, but they're like, what if you set it in Vietnam and change the characters and put them all in modern day Vietnam? And that never felt right to me, mostly because it was, again, characters that are stuck between two cultures. And then flash forward, when I was back to the States trying to pitch it to LA and Hollywood, there was interest. Again, there was a lot of excitement and a lot of offers made, but they wanted to change the cast to be white. And they wanted to change the cast to be, again, more American, or whatever the heck that means, in their minds. So it almost felt like we couldn't find a space for our story, even between these two cultures. And I think that was kind of indicative of, the story that we're trying to tell. So it was kind of like a reality, or art becoming reality in that sense. But yeah, so I mean, that was the story in terms of what we tried to do. And we went back to Seattle and did Kickstarter and raised the money through our own community, Asian American, primarily our community of doctors, dentists, lawyers, not filmmakers, not film studio. It was just completely all just grassroots. And again, that was just a testament to, people wanting to see Vietnamese, or me, or my producers as well, Asian Americans trying to make films and succeed. And so I think a lot of the enthusiasm came from that.
That's awesome. That's an amazing story. And something else amazing was the action in this film. The action sequences were incredible. So for our actors, have either of you done martial arts before? Did you use stunt doubles? Like, how long did it take you to learn these sequences? Did anyone get injured? I would love to know more about that process. And how was it like for you to execute these scenes?
We've been sworn to secrecy, so we cannot divulge.
First rule of Fight Club: don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah. The stunt doubles are dead.
Yeah. For me, I can't speak on Mikhail. He can tell you everything about him, but my background is dance. I do have some martial arts background, but I was really young. I was not even in double digits in age yet in terms of what that was. But yeah, the training was intense because it was 3 days of training, of actual training, and there's like voluntary, going in there in your own time kind of work. But like, that first 3 days was intense in terms of just trying to get at least a background of what the choreography was going to be like, what the movement, what's the visual story we're telling. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I do remember specifically, and I've told the story before, where you land in Seattle and you're about to film, and I like to get acquainted with my surroundings by running the city and just running around. I couldn't really do that, because what if I stepped incorrectly and I sprained my ankle or something like that? There was no stunt doubles. It's an indie film, so we had to be very responsible with our bodies and making sure that we are able to perform. But no crazy stories, no injuries, except I don't know, Mikhail, what's your story?
Me mainly, I like I'm from a boxing background, more of a Krav kind of like. I did a little dancing too, but not at the level my man's did. But what I loved about what Bao and then Brock. 'Cause I've done a couple of action movies, and a lot of times you create this choreography. Choreography has nothing to do with what your character's mindset really has going on. It's just they want to see some funky, fresh fight moves. They bring these guys in. They give you, you get your body ready to go through this movement, this choreography, and then you do it. And what Bao and them did was, which is why the action is so fantastic, is they hired us. Then they brought in this crazy talented stunt team, well, action team, and they basically, because at first my guy was gonna box a little, gonna throw his hands a little, and then we started talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I really would like do some jujitsu. And these guys are so acquainted with all of it and the footwork and how it coincides with the other action. They could just switch it over, basically based on what your body and your movement allowed them to. Instead of telling you what you were going to do, they let you show them what your body wanted to do, and then they created the story from the mental aspect of it as well, which gave all of us just a very high level of confidence and comfort. And when you have that and know how, anything is possible. So stunt doubles weren't necessary and all that stuff. We just went at it. And the beauty of this beautiful environment that Bao created was you kind of always trained. When there was off time in between scenes, in between sets, and you just worked on stuff. They would just be over there on the corner like, well, you got 20 minutes, let's work on this, let's work on that. We walk to the park, go get something to eat, work on this, work on that. So it was constantly fine tuning it. And then when you got in on it, they fine tuned it some more because now we have another fighter in. It was just like there was no way you could really. There's no way it wasn't gonna. I just felt like the minute we walked off the floor, it was gonna be a fantastic situation, and it's just we got a chance to see it, and I was like, I expected nothing less. It just felt. The environment was. It was a bunch of know-how around a bunch of will do, and you get know-how and will do, and you get paper tigers.
That's awesome. So I have a follow-up to that because about, you have a martial arts background, right? And you're working with actors who may not have that, but it seems like you took what their strengths were and their own experiences and kind of like built that into the story as well as built that into, the scenes and the choreography and everything. And so like, yeah, what was that process like? And, how did you come up with, training non-martial arts folks to become, like martial arts superstars on screen?
Well, I think we looked out, number one, the cast definitely had some experience. It was just kind of a question of just trying to fit them to the characters and be able to kind of tell the story. But, all credit goes to our action team, led by Ken Kidwell. He was our action director. He's the one of the final villain of the film. And then he worked with these guys through the boot camp of the action team. And it was also kind of process discovery for them to work with them. Again, Ken is a bit of a guy who likes to see what you guys bring and what the actors kind of bring and then react to it and start figuring out how to, as opposed to like Mikkel was saying, some action teams like, hey, this is the action scene, come hell or, go hit the highway and just do it. So, he really wanted to fit an action that felt like it was a glove in hand. And for these guys to feel like it was their own, it was the way that they moved, but also the way that they were motivated, because they were, that's the benefit of not having stunt doubles. Number one is we save a lot of money, but number two is like these guys are doing their action and they're performing the action. They're not, you don't swap out a stunt double that just comes in and does the move. It's like these guys are performing their character doing these actions. So it has those layers that it feels like it's definitely still feels real in that world. And so that was cool. And it was just a process of, maybe that is the advantage of sitting around trying to make a film for 10 years. Ken and I would just kind of sit, countless phone calls and just sitting, waxing, poetic and just imagining, all the scenarios, what could we do, and just without really having, actually, all the cast in front of us yet. But we could still brainstorm, compare notes, watch YouTube videos, like I said, like all these BAMOs, just watching the way people move in real life versus, kind of the martial arts movie, motion, and just trying to study that as an action. Also, we studied a lot of sports, a lot of athletes who were a little bit older. For example, like we watched a lot of Jordan that was like kind of not Bulls Jordan, but like Wizards Jordan, like just trying to see the way he would move and see the, just those little things that that he would have to adjust into kind of his more veteran years. So that's stuff that we all just kind of sat around and just kind of researched and just kind of like compared notes. And so all that is like osmosis by the time we have the cast, and then you're like, oh, now we have a cast, and maybe that's a whole fresh set of situations, because before you have something in your head, but now you have something real. You have something, you actually have, someone like Andy and Brian Lee, actually there in front. So it's like Marshall Club, shout out to Marshall Club of Westminster, but they brought a whole set of talent, and they could do more rotations than you could even imagine. It's like you didn't even know it was like physically possible that you could spin that many times in the air, but they do it, and then you're like, oh my God, now you have to figure out how to use that.
Totally. Wow. That's awesome. So, in the movie, we watch these flawed characters struggling to make sense of fatherhood, of what brotherhood means, a sense of honor and duty. So, how much is this informed by your own personal experience? What inspired you to do a film touching upon these themes? And maybe even for the acting, how much of that character really reflects you and stories you've seen. I just want to know the inspiration behind that.
Yeah, well, I'd love the guys to share. I'll go first, but I'd love them to share, because they've told me, on occasion throughout on set, and just all the different things, because it's just cool to hear the cast kind of react to it differently, and how they've digested it, and how they kind of bring it to their characters too. But yeah, kind of exactly what you're saying. It's like to me, going back to what we were, this stuff between two cultures. I mean, the premise is, imagine if you had to fight a challenge match tonight, but you got to go pick up your kid from soccer. And that to me, like, there's a lot in that, because it means like, what are the obligations that you have to Kung Fu or your Kung Fu code, when, there's no penalty if you don't do it, if you don't if you don't follow through with it, no one's gonna like punish you per se. So it's just one of those things, like whether those ideals and honor promises that they make to each other is, really holds weight when it comes down to it. And then that's what these characters kind of discover throughout the film. And then I think that's just the whole kind of balance between two cultures. I think, anyone that lives in a multicultural household can kind of speak to that, in terms of like the different responsibilities, the obligations, the even the cultural dance that you have to make between the two, the code switching and all that stuff. Like, that's all the stuff that we all have to kind of like navigate and basically find our way forward. And there's no necessarily right answer or wrong answer, but it is something that we all kind of deal with every day.
I champion, I'm just going to chime in just short. I champion Bao for the creation of Jim, because as soon as I read it, I was like, this is me. Like, I don't know how much he realizes in Black families, there's a lot of single parent or no parent. We attach ourselves to groups of people. It's why the gangs and stuff work, because like, you just want a family, and there's a brotherhood. You find it, and then some kind of way as you get older, because of your own stuff, you separate, and then like finding them again and finding your purpose again. Like, I mean, it just called Jim called out to me in like so many different levels, and I told him when I met him the first time, I said, I am this guy. Like, and all actors say that because we feel like we can just do whatever you put on the page. But like, this guy's life touched me. And the fact that the brotherhood, especially since we weren't all brothers, you know what I mean? And I just have, I have this in my life. It is a very important part of my life. It keeps me grounded when I sometimes lose my way. And it's the thing that keeps me out of jail. Basically. So when I saw this opportunity to kind of, I don't think there's enough love. There's a lot of focus on differences, and people have forgotten that we have far more in common than we have. And so like, here it is in the middle of this time, and when things are crazy, and at the time Trump was president, and that was a little tough for a lot of my family members. So like, I was looking for anybody with the balls to just be like, let's talk about something else. Can we get back to what life is really about, which is, love and like honor and like saying what you mean and meaning what you say. And this thing landed in front of me, and I just, I I inform my agents under no circumstances that you let this one get away. I don't give a what happens. I don't care if he's like, we got no money and like we can't pay him for nothing till I'll fly myself down. Like, so I feel enormously honored. Not only did he allow me the privilege of bringing life to Jim and introducing me into a culture that I was just completely ignorant about, of beauty and looking out for one another. And it's just the culture, the Asian culture, the Asian American culture is something to behold. If you've never been part of it, you should go get you a friend. It's a beautiful thing. And like to see that he put it on screen too, like he didn't water it down. He didn't try to move around it and make it some secondary thing. It just jumps out in your face and we choke you out with it. It is what it is. We are who we are. And we have no apology for that. And I just love it. It's one of the, I mean, I have paper tigers tattooed on my chest next to my 16.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what I've done 40 movies,
Wow.
some of my own, and I got paper tigers on my chest. So it is what it is. Elaine, you're muted, baby.
Yeah, top that, Elaine. What do you have on your body?
What I said was, it's too bad because I don't have a tattoo on my chest or anything, and I feel really bad now.
It's on your heart, bro. It's tattooed on your heart, bro.
It is. It's in there, man. It's in there.
It's in there, dog.
You know, for me, when I first read this script was at a time in my life where, and I've said this before, but it means a lot to me because at the time I was raising a 4-year-old boy, and my parents are retiring, and so in front of me is the beginning and sort of in the end, and I'm at this apex moment. And when I read the script, it jumped out because that's what this character Danny is going through. He's reconciling his past. He sees it, and he sees the potential of his future, and he doesn't know what he's going to do with it. And I think that's something that we all deal with as human beings, is understanding how we came to be who we are based on our past. And are we still that person? Do we even still want to be that person? And I think that's something that I think I brought to the character, is that uncertainty of where I was personally at the time, of this, second guessing everything. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Should I still be acting? Should I still be, wanting these things that the 22-year-old version of myself who had a lot of hubris and a lot of, kick ass, take name kind of, energy. I don't have that anymore. And there is in some ways a mourning that was happening inside me internally that was saying that person is still fighting to be present, and yet it's losing the battle because there's a new version of me that's emerging. And so that's the dualism that I saw in Danny, is understanding some of the stuff that he learned, some of the things that he was running away from are things that I could really relate to in a lot of ways. And also being a father and understanding what it means to be going through life, understanding that the version of you as your as you're raising your child, you're also growing too. You're not a constant. You're kind of changing with him or with her or whoever your child is going to be. So it's one of those things where I'm seeing the parallels as I go. So that's what I brought to my personal experience into the project, and I mirror everything that Mikhail was saying, that it's rare for someone like me, who's in some ways just a character actor, who hasn't had a lot of opportunities to be a co-lead or lead on a film. It's exciting. It was amazing for Bao and the team to allow us to be able to breathe life into these characters, because they are, they are us. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for
Just
sharing
a character actor. Come on now.
You on some
Come on.
bullshit. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You on some bullshit. You on some bullshit, bro.
Well, it's obvious just how
You gotta leave your man shit with you. Come on, bro.
Yes. Yep.
No, I think we see deeply how this movie moved you all, as well as like touched you in a way that is very personal. And like I think we feel that through the movie and these themes very much, because I think you all feel it very deeply too. So thank you for sharing that with us. So it's really timely that we have Paper Tigers at Film Fest. Since Bruce Lee, you mentioned him already.
Hmm.
He's one of your inspirations. And another film in our festival is Be Water, which sheds light on the discrimination Bruce Lee faced in Hollywood. And so, in many ways, the industry has moved forward to be more representative, but we still have a long way to go. So, as a filmmaker or actor, what advice would you give to young people out there trying to get into this profession?
Be like water.
That is
Yep.
very
There you
good.
go. Yeah.
And what helped
Yeah.
you, when trying to navigate this personally or professionally, navigating the Hollywood space? Kind of have things changed? What can be done better? What can
Yeah.
a young person wanting to do this do?
Well, okay, so maybe I'll be the contrarian of this. It's good to be water, but in the traditional, there's elements. There's air, water, fire, earth, and I think it was also learning how to be fire. To be honest, I think for Asians, we tend to kind of flow or kind of like avoid situations and not really stand up or even speak our truth or speak to our talent and let them know that we're here and there's nothing you can do about it and we're going to happen. So I think that's something that we had to kind of overcome because you can tell like maybe our first couple of meetings of pitches kind of like, well, why should we give you the money? And we're like, well, I don't know, we're kind of like doing this, and then you're like, yeah, it's kind of like it's very like apologetic. And then like cut to year 4, we're just sick of everything. We're like, why should we give you this money? Because you need to get involved with this movie, and this is going to be the best thing that's going to happen in your life. That's why. And then we had to kind of like get that swag going in ourselves, and just kind of like discovering that fire. And I think that's something that, if anything, to young folks is, be all those things. Be everything that you need to be in the moment. Be everything that you need to be in your own personality. If you are a little bit more, say, a little bit more reserved, then the whole point of martial arts is to kind of get you out of that shell and teach you those complementary elements. If you're a little bit more fire, if you are, kind of a hard-nosed person, yeah, then maybe you should be a little more water and learn how to be, all those things. So I think it's it's all about balance and just being able to understand what your personality serves best, but also what it also needs to be nurtured and not be you don't want to fan the flames of a fire if you're already pretty ill-tempered, if you will, So you just need to find your balance.
So be water as well as discover your fire if you don't have it.
Exactly. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Michaela,
You gotta learn to be ice.
any advice?
Yeah.
I would also just like to say to those out there, because sometimes you get caught up in what you're gonna do, and you forget that there are pioneers. There are vigilantes out there who are writing their stories, who are living their truth, like Bao and his team, and it may be their vessel that brings you closer to achieving some of the things you want to as an artist. It isn't. Don't always remember you're not alone. There are things that work if you do the work and prepare yourself. Because if you're prepared, the opportunity will find you. And then you got to take that opportunity and then murder it. That's it. Because you forget about that when you get down on yourself and you start thinking about, if you're crazy and you could be a doctor. And, one day you get a Zoom call from somebody in a different state and you didn't know they were alive. And they write this thing and it's like you wrote it for yourself. And they see you when nobody else, when, others couldn't. And then there you are. So just remember, when you're caught in your little bubble, there are other bubbles. Those bubbles hook up to your bubble, you get a big bubble, and then you got bubble gum.
How do you
How do I even follow that? Like,
Oh,
ooh,
geez.
Yeah, bubble
Yeah,
gum.
yeah.
oh man.
That's
First
right.
he starts it off by quoting "Be water" and then "Be bubblegum."
Yeah.
I mean, I love Mikhail. This is why I love Mikhail.
So
I
good.
don't. My. If we're talking specifically about acting,
Mhm,
um, acting is hard. It's hard
mhm,
work. The thing I mentor a few other young actors, and what I tell them all the time is that get your head out of your ass and understand that this is hard work. This
yeah.
is not something that is going to come to you easily. Um, I've been Mikhail, you could attest to this. I could attest to this. I've been doing this for a long time, and if we're talking about diversity, there's many moments in my career where I could have just quit because there's nothing. There was nothing. But every part of me knew that if I held on just a little bit longer and you know kept persevering and kept pushing, it's going to happen. Because like anything else, when you when you continue to fail, you learn. And if you stop failing, that means you've stopped and you've given up. And I think that goes for every part of your life. I think, for acting, it's a hard discipline, and it is a discipline. That's why it's called a discipline. You have to be disciplined to do it. And if there is someone watching there right now who wants to pursue a career in filmmaking, storytelling, acting, live your truth, speak it, but also understand that in addition to the discipline, your work is needed. We're not going to be here all the time. There's going to be a new generation that comes up, and it's up to them to keep pushing. They're the ones who's going to really bring this up and say, okay, let me stand on your shoulders at this point and see how far I could go. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for those folks. And really, you have no fucking excuse to not to do it because everything is there for you. That's it. That's my piece. Be bubblegum. Boom.
Be bubblegum, be fire, be water, everything,
Yeah,
Oh,
all
see,
that.
that's
All
everything.
that.
do that. Yeah,
That's
no,
everything.
I think, you all talk about this, but you all are the pioneers, setting this up for this next generation. And so we want to appreciate and thank you for that. And so
Thank
now
you.
with the
Just like the Oregon
successful,
Trail, we're all
yes,
pioneers.
just like the Oregon Trail.
Like the Donner Party, yeah.
So now with the successful release of the film, what are you all working on next? We want to know a little bit more.
Trying to get the show on the road. We got a drive-in screening at VFF, and we're still screening the film throughout the country. So we've been really blessed. I mean, just the fact that we released in theaters and had a wide release in May, but people still want to see the movie or talk about the movie or show the movie. So that's been first and foremost in my mind and my docket. But definitely working on some other projects, working on some stuff in the meantime. But of course, just trying to get this film out there and get it going to as many people as we can. Work is still being done.
Totally. And Elaine and Mikkel, are you all working on some new projects too?
Bao is being very humble. Should we drop the news now, Bao? That
Yeah,
Paper
sure.
Tiger's sequel is happening for
No
everybody?
way!
Got him.
Bubble, just a bubble.
Bubble. Bubble.
Waiting to become bubblegum. That's all.
That's
Hey,
right.
I'm just putting it out there in the universe that I think I want more people
There
to
you go.
watch this thing. I want more people to understand that anything is possible if we have enough people wanting it. So if you watch this, I'm still kind of focused on the present. This is still out there, and I think it's something that people should watch. Currently, I'm on Station 19 and Grey's Anatomy. I'm working on that, recurring this season. And there's a few things that are coming up. I did a movie with Winona Ryder and Dermot Mulroney called The Cow. And I did a film with Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson that's coming out. It's called Stew. So yeah, that's what's up. That's what's coming up next.
I'm gonna say Paper Tigers, just to
The sequel, bro, the
kind of,
sequel.
repeat what my dog said before we left. Me, Ron, and Elaine, we kind of felt like something special was happening, and we looked at each other and we said, "Listen, no matter what's happening in this universe for us, if the opportunity presents itself, we're signed on." That's something we did, just the three of us on the side. Like we come back and we get it. So like I have some things, but I feel like they're, as far as representations of my talent and things I'm like really, really proud about. Like I don't wanna give people a break off the Paper Tigers by me telling you what's coming. It'll be here when it gets here. You know what's coming right now is the PT. Like you want to see Black, catch me on the PT. It's a Netflix. We come to a town near you. If I can make the flight, I'm there. I want to meet everybody I can personally, and I just want to honor this film with my attention and with my tongue as long as it is the thing in this universe right now that is the only place you can find me as of present. And so like I don't want to go on to the next moment yet. I don't want to go on to the next thing coming. I don't, I've had to miss a couple of signings because of some things I was doing, and they'll get their time when it's their time. But right now, every time I watch this film, and I try to watch it every single day because
Algorithms. That's why.
Oh well, yeah. But I don't know how much I'm moving that joint, but I can do this.
It's hard to compete against Squid Game, but we're trying.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just get this straight though. I truly believe we opened up. We released when Asian hate was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we numbed that shit a little. Like we because our film was about completely the different thing, completely different from that. Like I think I tell people this all the time. You can't tell me any different. In the environment I was in, it was on everybody's tongue. It's Asian hate. And then Paper Tigers hit. A lot of my friends, a lot of my world changed a little. And then Squid Games comes, and you're just looking at it differently. Like you're willing to accept these Vietnamese actors as normal people living normal lives, like you. Like I don't care what anybody says. We opened up a levee for that film to be as successful as it is, and all that really says to me is like, as we push that forward, it will come back. It will flip it backwards back on us. Like some people who didn't really stop on us the first time, they'll come back to us. I just think that hate can only last for so long because love is the most powerful feeling in the world, and that this film we've created is about that love. And at the end of the day, it's gonna float. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna say Paper Tigers is premiering at this film festival. That's what's up next. And then we have these showings in Texas on the 21st, 20th, all over, Houston, Dallas, like that's what's up next. And then I'll talk to you on the 25th and see what's popping. But that's all I got for you right now.
Now that's great. That's great. But I hear you all. VIF audience, did you hear all that? Is that basically Paper Tigers is on Netflix. It is showing in person, screenings all over the nation. Please go out and support so that we can have a Paper Tigers too. So
this is what we're talking about. This is all we need.
Westminster, show up. Show up.
We were number six on Netflix with no hoo-ha, nobody giving us in that top line, all that crap.
Yeah.
Listen, if y'all really want us to bring it back one more again, you got the writer, you got two of the main actors, and we already got a handshake from the other one. And we know Ron, we just go get him out of Hong Kong. He gonna come do what he needs to do. Y'all gotta do what y'all gotta do. Put us back in that top 10, preferably number one. And I promise you, Netflix will make some phone call, and I promise you, we gonna come. So now,
Bow's gonna be like Brinks trucks, just back to Brinks truck. Let's make this work.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Let's
All
make
right.
magic.
Well, I think this is a really nice closing to kind of think about, and everybody go out and support. And, just thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh,
And
don't forget to tell them about the gear. We got gear. We got funky fresh.
Oh, swag.
nice.
Oh,
Swag
see.
available. The swag gear is
Okay, good.
available.
Good
On
segue.
the PT. Yeah, go do your thing. Tell them about.
You go to the website, if you go to the website, thepapertigersmovie.com, it'll have all our screening info, including VFF and the drive-in, all our upcoming screenings. We'll put it all there. Follow us on socials. It also has a link to our web store, Bao Duong Beer. Alan Duong, who couldn't make it, but he's a producer, also Vietnamese. We formed our names together to form this beer. You'll see it in the movie. It's a couple product placements throughout the film because we couldn't afford to pay Budweiser or anyone. So our amazing production designer, Wing Lee, came up with the Bao Duong beer brand. And so we spun that off to be our little web store. So we got all types of swag. We got T-shirts, we got beanies, we got posters, we got stickers, laptop stickers for y'all. Yes, that's right. And so come on out and come see after you see the movie, come support the web store and rock some Paper Tigers here.
Take it from me. Swag gear is dope.
Yes, sir.
And you already know, folks who know black, they know I know how to G. So when I say the swag gear is dope, swag gear is dope.
That's
exactly.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Bao, Elaine, Mikhail. Thank you so much for being with us, and congrats on all the success, and wish you more success in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, VFF. Way to come home. Glad to be back. Let's keep building.
Yes. All right.